Jimmy Lavender, author of Bitter Rain and a Better Tomorrow. You can find that book on Amazon. Check out the book and learn the real history of what happened in Los Angeles.
Bitter Rain and a Better Tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Lavender. How are you, my man?
I'm fine, Dusty. Thank you much, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining the program. Not only that, and I appreciate you putting this really good book together. And I'm going to have the link in the description so everybody can check it out. Bitter Rain and a Better Tomorrow. Why that title?
Well, first of all, let me greet you in the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language with Assalamu alaikum to you as well as to your audience.
Appreciate you.
Once you read the book, Bitter Rain, you would see where the title came from. I want to hold that for the readers, and they would see exactly where the Bitter Rain came from and what it meant.
One of the things I've always been interested in is the story about the spook hunters and the city of Southgate, and that whole situation that was going on there. Can you give us a little rundown of the spook hunters and Southgate?
I can give you very little rundown about the spook hunters. We moved in the Florence Firestone Watts area in 1963, and there was only a handful of spook hunters that we believed. They wasn't as active in 63. But what was active in 63 was the Southgate Police Department. And we often believe that they were under the title of the spook hunters. If we crossed into Southgate from Watts, we're slammed against the cars, we go back home, you can get kicked, legs kicked apart. We're talking about guys 8 years old, 10 years old. Now, we did have one encounter with some white guys that was much bigger than us, and they were throwing rocks at us as me and Bobby walked down Alameda Street. It's a pretty large intersection right there. And I can't say that they were spook hunters or just some older kids wanting to throw some rocks at some younger kids. So that's pretty much the spook hunters. They had Southgate, Compton, Linwood. They were huge. And by the time we got there, our neighbors had warned us about them. But and we know that they used to come into the Watts area and throw fire bombs and stuff like that at the people. And when the people go to retaliate, there's that Southgate Police Department on the black guy. So that we had been told about. So I never personally encountered any spook hunters unless those Southgate Police was spook hunters, because I sure encountered them.
Gotcha. And I know everybody listening who's from LA, they hear Southgate and they're like, that's predominantly Latino. I mean, we're talking late 60s, early 70s. It was all white. Compton was all white. Linwood was all white. Pretty much, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I actually went to Southgate Middle School for a minute, and about that time, it had changed. It was probably 50% Hispanic, 10% blacks, and the rest was white.
Gotcha. And when you moved to Southgate during that time, you had a friend from Elm Street Watts, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't move to Southgate.
Oh, you just went to school there.
I was a traveling person trying to find myself, so to speak. I was getting kicked out of all these different schools, so I had to go to continuation, which meant I couldn't go with the main population of the school. I had to go in some bungalow buildings. And a lot of my elementary schools were from Elm Street Watts, the Hispanic gang, and they were all a whole bunch of them. They were all at Southgate High School.
Gotcha. Let's go to 1967. The legendary Avenues gang started. What do you remember about that period of time?
Yeah, that was my first introduction to junior high school, at Drew Junior High School. The Avenues was a huge gang, mostly built with muscle-bound guys, and they were a terrorist gang. They terrorized the community and come into school, head to school, after school parties, the whole 9 yards. I know quite a few of them. Actually, their leadership was really, really good friends with my family. And I lived across the tracks. And when we were young, we used to have rock fights with the avenues. And we throw rocks at each other from the tracks. So, and I was from what called the Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like Russia and America, the two powerfulest neighborhoods in that neighborhood. So we didn't have any problems whatsoever with the avenues. But the Avalon Gardens and all the surrounding little neighborhoods caught pure hell from the avenues. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Their leaders was Craig Munson, Donnie Boy, and another brother named Bear. Now, Bear's sister today is still like my play sister, and Bear went as my big brother. And then you had the Raymond Burns. Some say he was the toughest fighter of all of them, and he was like he went as a cousin to my family. So I can go anywhere I wanted to go. My family, we went where we wanted to go, and just we were all right.
In your book, Bitter Rain and a Better Tomorrow, you mentioned that Raymond Washington wanted to be an avenue, but he was, quote, rejected. Explain to me how that led to the formation of the Crips.
Raymond Washington hung around with the avenues, not just Craig Munson's brother Robert, but he hung around with the avenues, period. His father lived right there in Avenue neighborhood, and he would visit every summer with his father. But he was rejected by Munson. Different stories about the rejection, but he was rejected. So we call Raymond a wannabe. A wannabe is somebody who wants to be part of that group, but he don't live in that area or what have you. And that was Raymond's situation. Incident happens with Craig Munson and Raymond. And Munson ended up slapping Raymond, which is not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a big deal. In my book, we talk about Big Bo Bell verbally chastising me from terrorizing and Drew. It wasn't uncommon for an older guy, 19, 20, to chastise a youngster. Once they tell us to do something, we don't do it, they'll slap us upside the head. That wasn't something that wasn't uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hear about Munson slapping Raymond, we hear about, he was much bigger. Hey, that's just the way it was in those days. So he slapped Raymond. Raymond became angry and said he's going to start his own gang. And he did. He did. That 15-year-old friend of mine started a gang called the Crips. That's what led to the Crips. And for years I sit back, I listen to interviews, the whole night, documentaries. And, all I would ever hear was who was the first Crips? Who? But then we hear different things. Oh, they want to be part of the Black Panthers. They came from the avenues, and the Black Panthers have absolutely nothing in common. Now, the avenues was known. I'm sorry, the Crips and the Black Panthers have nothing in common. The avenues was known, the gang that Raymond wanted to be part of. They were known for terrorizing, robbing people, their jackets, their shoes, any hats, suede jackets, watches, rings, whatever they wanted. And that's what Raymond got that from, and that's what he introduced to his gang, the Crips. That's where it all came from. It came from the avenues, and Raymond picked up on it. And that's where it came from. That's what led to chaos in the whole cotton picker city of LA. Bottom line.
Talk to us about the death of Robert Ballou and how it put a spotlight on the gang problem that we have here in Los Angeles.
Robert Ballou's death pumped fear in the entire city of LA because there had been so many people who had been robbed, hospitalized, beaten, way before there was a Robert Ballou. Yeah, I mean, Robert Ballou was killed in 1972. Crips came out in 69 with their terrorizing stuff. They didn't hospitalize probably way over 100 people. And we don't talk about that. But Robert Ballou was the first one to be killed from those injuries. And so that everybody said, oh, the Crips done finally killed somebody. They're killers, they're killers. So people became afraid to go to school, go to the parks, go to the stores.
Crips used to go around still in leather jackets specifically, right? That was the big prize, right?
They went around doing everything. They went around, they went to turn out house parties. You couldn't go to the beach without them coming. You couldn't go to the Watch festivals no more. You couldn't sit at the bus stop. And not only for a guy, but even for a girl, because they had criplets. And if your girlfriend had on something nice that they really wanted, she had to come out of it. She had to come out of it. And there was just a pocket of us in different neighborhoods that wasn't going for it. And we became freedom fighters. We became resistors. And then you have your bishops. You got your bounty hunters. You got your Pyrus. And that's how the different gangs came to be. For most of them, you had some gangs that predates the Crips. You have the Brims, the Denver Lanes, the Atkins Park Boys, Denver Lanes, AP Atkins Park Boys. Those gangs have been around since the mid 60s. You know, so the Crips had someone to fight. They started going against these other little gangs and just grew on and on and on and on and to what we have today.
Now you mentioned the Watts Festival. That's where you first met Tookie. Now tell us a little bit about Tookie and the Watts Festival in specific. I know that was a big deal every year, and unfortunately, like you said, people started messing it up for everyone, and it stopped. But how important was the Watts Festival? And talk to us about Tookie.
The Watts Festival was all we had. It was all we had in Watts, and it would run through the month of August, all August, every night. God, it was all about. Yeah, I hate to keep mentioning these women, but it was all about catching girls.
Dude,
bro.
no, that's what it was all about. That's what keeps us going, man.
Hey, they came from everywhere. San Fernando Valley, city of Carson. And it was just like, we call them Valley girls. And everybody wanted the Valley girls. Because remember, this festival was in Watts. And that's like the lowest income in the area. So we had vendors. We had all the black vendors out there. Food, games to play at daytime, nighttime. Thousands and thousands of people would be out there. Dusty, you talking about some of the best times. You had the carnival rides, you could ride on horses and the whole 9 yards. And we didn't have all that kind of stuff in the Watts area. We looked forward to that every year. But for the Crips, it became something that we have to take over. We have to take over that. They came in miles of thousands. They were up in the thousands. And the smaller gangs in the Watts area, the bounty hunters, the Pyrus, and the bishops, even when we joined forces to try to kick the Crips out the park, I mean, we still had to retreat. We had to run. I ran. I ran too. I had to run. It was just too many of them. We get to fighting them. They come breaking through the crowd like a big tidal wave. Here come 1,200 more of them. Then we just have to retreat. Yeah, that's what we said. So and the Crips patterned themselves after the Avenue. So the Crips are some big dudes. The Tookies and the Raymonds, and they had guys that just had the Aldens. Them guys, Jamel, those guys were just super strong yokes, and they were gladiators. We were gladiators, but they 20 to 30 to 1. We fought some, and you know what? I tell people this stuff. They said, well, 60 of you guys went up there to fight 1,000. Why would you do that? Well, here's the thing. The sheriff department will always be behind the Crips because they mob in this big old pack. So right behind them is the sheriff. So you're not fighting no more than about 45 seconds to maybe 1 minute. And then the sheriff's coming through with the dogs and the horses and the motorcycles and everybody scatter and run. So it's not like you just standing there and like the Spartans and stuff. Yeah, so it wasn't like that. We would run and then scatter out, and some of us become like those little insurgents over in Iraq. Me and my little crew, we sit in the front, maybe 4 or 5 of us, and I'm supposed to get me a leather jacket. Since they taking it from everybody else, I'm supposed to take one. So we see Crips, 2 or 3 of them walking together, they trying to get back to their group, and we straight out get them. We get them. We get them. They coming out them jackets and them hats. So we never gave up the park. We just had to get out when we had to get out and catch them on the way coming to the park, catch them leaving the park. The same thing that they were doing to the everyday person, the person that wasn't affiliated. They catching them coming to the park with their girls, and they robbing them and the whole 9 yards. So the festival was becoming real ugly. So his days was coming to his end. My brother Bobby tried to save the festival, and he got with the Pyros, the Bounty Hunters, and different Crip groups, but it was so many different Crips. I guess they all didn't get the memo that we're going to stop all this. We're going to save this festival. Bobby really tried, and they started a group called the Brothers Unlimited. That must have lasted for about one day, and the next day it was right back to the same old bull. I met Tookie at the Watch Festival through Raymond. I met him in '72, and right after we had lost our friend Skip, remember the festivals are in August, and we hadn't found out who killed Skip. We didn't know that it was Crip involvement, but of course they were the number one suspects. So we didn't go there to fight the Crips at that festival, and Raymond introduced me to Barefoot Pookie and Cowboy and Tookie that day. So I didn't really know Tookie. I didn't. First impression was one that I didn't like a Tookie. Unlike this is your leader, Raymond, and he says Tookie, the Lavender brothers, Bobby and Jimmy. To me, alone, you don't have to puff up to swell up when your leader is introducing you to some guys who are his friends.
Gotcha.
So I didn't like that. So I knew then that me and Tookie could never be friends.
And I don't want to give away too much of your book, but I encourage everybody out there to check out Bitter Rain and A Better Tomorrow and read the part where he decided to start the Bishops and how that whole thing came along. And there's a whole story in itself, but I'm going to leave that for the book because I think that's a big part of the book that people, definitely want to hear. The city of Compton actually began seeing an outbreak in Crip sets popping up, which obviously made way for the Pyros. What do you remember about first hearing about the Pyros, and what about Pudding? I always hear his name come up.
And as you should.
Hellraiser is what I always get. He was just...
the Pudding had to do what Pudding had to do.
Now, can I ask you really quick before we go, because is it Putin, P-U-T-T-I-N, or is it Puddin, P-U-D-D-I-N, to the best of your knowledge?
I'm going to leave that to the best of my knowledge. People call him up both Puddin and Puddin.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's no word. Okay.
Right. So I might give you the wrong spelling for that. But gotcha. But Puddin was, some call him a psychopath, or different things that you might call Puddin. But he had a huge target on his back. They were always trying to kill Puddin. I mean, come on, at that time, being a leader of a gang that opposed the Crips, it was like a trophy to kill Puddin, kill AC Papa Louie, kill Little Vince, kill the Lavender brothers. We had targets on our back. And the cold part about having a target on your back, youngsters, you don't even know, never seen before, never had an argument, but Too Pretty Kenny in the corner pocket Crip said to me, he said, I would love to have glass on Jimmy Lavender.
Damn.
I'm like, I didn't even know you, man. But just the fact that if you don't kill me, just to be able to say, I shot Jimmy Lavender, put all these stars in your name, and they had, he shot Jimmy Lavender, or hey, Putin shot this person, that person. Putin was he was I'm not going to say a gladiator with his hands. I'm not going to say that. He wasn't known for that, but he had a fast draw with the gun, and because he's not here with us, I might say some things like. He was successful in putting some holes in some people, and he wasn't afraid to do so. So, and a lot of people just straight out feared Putin because he kind of had that I don't care attitude. And if you were a Crip and Putin was around, by all means, you had every right to be concerned. So if I hope I kind of
I've heard pretty much the same consensus from a few other originals that I've had on my show. So definitely get it. Definitely get it. Yeah, Putin was
Yeah. Putin was. I say Putin was nothing nice.
When did you notice it start going from mostly fist fights to just straight up gunplay?
I'm going to say we became bishops in June of 1972. We had a lot of fist fights in those days. And so I'm going to say probably the latter part of 72. There was still a lot of fist fighting going on. And in 73, it became a nightmare. Los Angeles and Compton became a no man's land. I mean, you can't be at the bus stop, you know. And like Head Hunter said, if you was under 24 years old, you didn't have no business in Compton outside at night. So, and that's what it was all over in LA. Even driving your car, if we had war and there's two people in the car and we don't recognize that car, you ain't got no business driving through Bishop neighborhood. Don't be lost and turn down the wrong street, because two people in the car normally meant somebody, the passenger, going to start blasting. So we fire first. So it gets around. It got around. There were some train tracks in our neighborhood, or there are some train tracks in our neighborhood on 92nd. And when that train comes in and you have to stop, it wasn't good.
Damn.
It wasn't good because we had an alley right there across the street, what we call Nine Deuce. And that alley, you know, guys sold all kind of drugs there. You know, the Angel Dust, the Kills, and you know, that was a stronghold for the Nine Deuce bishops. And when we see a car there, two or more, and we don't recognize it, shots will ring from that alley. Yeah, so that's it. And the word gets around. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The word gets around. Do not go over there. And that's how the territories was pretty much marked.
Now, you know, it's speaking of trains, in an old video, probably from the 80s, your brother Bobby mentioned trainfuls of automatic weapons being left in the hood, you know, probably in hopes of increasing the violence. What do you know about that?
Those trains, first of all, there was a lumber yard where today it's called Washington Park, but that used to be a lumber yard, and the trains would stop on the tracks going north and south. They would stop there. Sometimes they would stop overnight. They had a train called the Fruit Express, and bananas and all kind of frozen stuff in there. You take a chisel and you get inside that Fruit Express and you get, you know, come on now, you get the fruits. And you go in those box cars. And one time I remember bicycles. You got the bicycles. Another time they had cigarettes that was probably going to the service people because they wasn't staffed. So you had some cigarettes. Now listen, when we got into those trains and we got those bicycles and them cigarettes, the police never did come to try to find those bikes or those cigarettes. When we got in those box cars, the police never came looking for those guns. They never came looking for those guns. Now, it was almost obvious that the guns was taken in that general area because like I know, those guns was used.
Yep.
And when people got hurt in that same general area, it's a no-brainer to figure out people getting shot in the same area. So those guns must have came up missing from that area right there. That's about all I think I better say about them guns.
Yeah, you want somebody showing up on in your front door. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man.
Yeah.
And the show Snowfall, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Snowfall, is actually talking about, that was part of the show as well. Are you familiar with that show, Snowfall?
No, I'm not.
Okay. If you get a chance, I would suggest definitely checking it out and seeing if it is true to what you were experiencing back in the early 80s.